The views and opinions expressed by the guests of Sasquatch Experience do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the hosts, sponsors, or affiliates of the Sasquatch Experience. As always, listener discretion is advised.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Does a legend walk among us, lurking in the forests of our world?
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something. It looks like a man. I don't know what it was.
For over 15 years, we've talked with scientists, researchers, investigators, and witnesses, trying to gain insight and proof around the existence of this mysterious entity.
Jesus Christ, you better... Tia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right...
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
Join us as we continue into the investigation of the Sasquatch Experience. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sasquatch Experience, Monday, July 17th, 2023, home of the second longest intro in Bigfoot podcasting. Your friends, that's right, here at the Sasquatch Experience. I'm Sean, the Fort Chop Forker. Next to me, Vance Nesbitt. Way over there on the end is James Baker, the birthday boy. Wish him a happy birthday. He's 50 and
happy
doesn't
little
look a day.
birthday to
100.
you. Happy little birthday to you. Happy little
Let it
birthday,
go, Marilyn Monroe.
James Baker. Happy little birthday to you. You're getting older.
Well, that was beautiful, Vance. How about that?
Wow.
Right underneath me is Henry May. Yes, he's alive, as you can see by that cherubic face bouncing around with joy. Down in the middle, Matt Arner, our chief of security, and still rather new member of the team. And down in the bottom corner, our guest tonight, Matt Larson from Central Florida Bigfoot. And of course, guys, we're here to talk about Swamp Apes. The Swamp Apes Part 3 here, Season 7 of the Sasquatch Experience. Yeah, Part 3. We've been kind of going in this impromptu series, and I think we've had some good trips along the way. Matt, thanks for joining us here tonight. We're really glad you stopped by. You were highly recommended by Mike Ann, and we're just glad you joined us.
Uh-oh. Well, I appreciate you having me. Hope I can live up to that.
Well, we do too, because Mr. Campbell. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Matt, Central Florida says it all, right? How'd you get started into this Bigfoot mystery? I take it probably wasn't as traditional as everyone else.
Actually, it kind of was. About 4 years ago, I don't even think I had been on YouTube other than a quick pop over, didn't understand it and popped out. I mean, can't even tell you what I watched. But about almost 3.5 years ago, I had knee surgery, was laid up, and kind of like week 2, I was going crazy. You know, you're out for 5 weeks, so I had a left knee replaced. And that really started it for me. You know, I just jumped over on YouTube and somehow something popped up on my feed, Loch Ness Monster, watched it, Stonehenge, watched it, you know, just kind of went down the rabbit hole from what I remember doing as a kid, and landed on Bigfoot and got caught up with some Bigfoot channels where, you know, I kind of got up to speed real quick about what Bigfoot world was all about. And just kind of was a follower of every channel I could possibly follow for about a year. And then started hearing, you know, stuff about Florida because I, like everybody else, I thought it was the Pacific, you know, Northwest. So I started listening to some channels. They started talking about Florida, and one day someone said, "Well, you can do it anywhere. Just get off the couch and go check out the woods near you." And I started doing that. And there's an interesting story to that because I started doing it like everybody else does it. I started emulating all the channels I was watching, which is really funny because I'm actually a professional photographer, made my living with a camera, for 50 years now. So I just started doing everything that you see the channels do. And then one day I went, wait a minute, is this how I would do it as a professional? No. And so I flipped the script and then just started approaching it a totally different way. But really, it was through knee surgery and just, recovery. I hear a lot of stories. They're all real similar, actually.
Now, you said you were flipping through YouTube, found a whole bunch of different content creators and researchers out there. What were some of the things that really interested you in starting this? I mean, you're laid up trying to get back out there, professional photographer. What did you think you could do a little differently, or what was your impetus to I just got to do this?
Well, focusing the camera was number one. I already have that down. So I really often refer to myself as not so much a researcher, but that first year I did emulate and I used an iPhone and I did what everybody else was doing. And then I went, wait a minute, I got gear, I got knowledge. I can do better than this. And when I started flipping it, what interested me was what I call forest language, what other people refer to as evidence of a Bigfoot. And so I got hooked on the bends, the breaks, the glyphs, anything that you would find, normally walking through the woods. And that whole first year, I went for it hook, line, and sinker that, oh my gosh, this is Bigfoot, and it must be Bigfoot. I hadn't noticed this stuff before. And watching these channels, I watched some channels that are probably I wouldn't watch today, nor would I recommend today for new people entering the field. But I did kind of jokingly, I say I got my master's degree off a couple channels that are really the channels I would recommend today. And I'm not one for, throwing grenades on people. There's entertainment channels and then there's research channels and then there's other things. But I kind of come at it like now, a year later, after I got into it, like, wait a minute, I'm not a researcher. I'm a hired gun. I'm coming in as a gunslinger and I'm looking for movement and I know how to use a camera. I'm looking for sharp focus and I'm using every tool I can throw at it, including gimbals, telephoto lenses, on gimbals. I don't see anybody doing that. I don't see anybody walking with a 300 millimeter lens stabilized 100 yards on a wood line in front of you as you're walking or over the shoulder. You see a lot of this GoPro stuff over the shoulder. It's not going to ever move the ball forward. So I started using gimbals and I started going down the rabbit hole, night vision, 1080p night vision, and then into FLIRs and 270 blinds, and just started really buying equipment that I thought would get me out there. So that's really it. I just approach it as someone coming into Carson City and I'm the gunslinger that everybody's got to worry about. And I'm not gonna, I got in trouble the first 3-4 months when I started. After a year, I started my talking channel like this. And I kind of overstepped one night and said, if you're into Bigfoot 10, 20, 30, 40 years, I don't want to talk to you. I'm not interested at all. And everybody went, like, what do you mean by that? And I went, well, you've been doing it so long, you don't have anything. From my understanding, 50 years, we don't have anything. So no, I didn't mean that they're stupid and I didn't want to hear anything from them. I just didn't want to be tainted. I didn't want to learn practices that weren't best practices. And so I meant that in a respectful way, but it came off wrong. But it took me about 2 or 3 weeks to really articulate what I really meant. It's not that I disrespect them in any way. It's just like, I don't really want to know what you're doing because I need to, it tells me that if nothing's been done in 50 years, I need to approach this as a baby Bigfooter that I am and just not be not had these people going off on your ear that this is how you do it, because nobody knows how to do it.
No, I think one of the more important thing is, though, that Matt, you're bringing in a professional level of ability. And one of the things I've talked about for a long time, that a problem that's very pervasive within the community is that we're not technical experts in the field where we really need to be. And from Matt and I's perspective, part of the reason why we haven't gotten real good evidence in the last 50, 60 years is because nobody knows how to collect it right. And instead of taking the time, which people are doing now, but instead of taking that time and learning, it's we seem to be stuck in that constant loop of repeat. And where I think is beneficial, and I think something that I appreciate about Mike Ann and about Matt and others, is that there is that desire to get better and learn, so we can collect better evidence and finally get some proof, because we kind of need it. We're really, I personally believe that without solid evidence, we're running out of time for things to be taken seriously. It's already on borrowed time in some aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Henry,
Matt, I would like to. Go ahead, Henry.
Oh, it's always interesting how a creature so hairy as the skunk ape can actually survive in the humidity of Florida. I know. I mean, the humidity gets oppressive here in Mississippi.
What? I got Henry and fast forward and rewind at the same time.
I think Henry makes a valid point, because today I tried to work on my shed and I felt like I lost 30 pounds in sweat in 2 minutes, and I'm not an 400 to 600 pound creature covered in complete hair, especially on top. But I mean, that's the one thing. But we also have to look at the fact is, and I think Henry would agree if he's still alive over there, is that we are prone to our environment too. So people live in Florida wear coats in September. When I went to Florida in September, I wanted to peel it all off and not die and not get arrested, and they're wearing coats. There's people in California in 80-degree California weather, and they got sweaters on. You look at the old-timey pictures of the people from the Old West, and they had full-on suits and dresses that were this thick, yet they weren't dying in the street. But we go out in 75, 80-degree weather and a little bit more humidity, and we're all like, oh my God, this is just hell,
Yep. Train. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, and I think about the heat question a lot. We're kind of having to suspend what we're trying to accomplish. I got a trail cam way out. I mean, we're talking way out. It's 4 hours by e-bike out. Okay, and some people may ask, well, how do you get 4 miles out in a wildlife corridor? In Florida, it's not hard to do, but Florida's set up like other places. You pull off the side of the road, there's a trailhead, you park, and there's these preserves that are fairly good size, nothing to what's up north in the Northeast or the Northwest, but you got to understand, you can't get through them. You can be a mile and not make it across, which we discovered a couple weekends ago. We were both facing heat distress in some ways. And 2 weeks before that, my partner, Brian, tried to go out and retrieve the camera on his own to surprise me. And he went down a couple times. And I found out about it, and I said, don't ever do that again. The camera's not that important. The first time we put it out there, we both had to stop. And I had on my e-bike, I had a little soft pack of ice that was frozen with a couple seltzers in there. And thank goodness, that we were prepared with the water and stuff, but we had to stop in one little shady area and literally just I had to put ice on them, that we were, and I was feeling it too. It wasn't just Brian. So we're to the point now, we're going to have to kind of slow it down and think smart and work, switch to kayaks. and
Right.
stay on the e-bikes. And there are some stuff you can do by truck. There are some stuff you can get into some really gnarly roads, with a 4-wheel, and you can get back there. So we're just going to have to suspend the off trail like we were doing. I mean, we were going 3 miles in by truck, a mile, 2 miles out by kayak down a creek, hiding the kayaks and going another mile, 2 miles out, through the swamp, pretty much all of it off trail. I'm getting too old for that, and because I'm obviously older than you guys, but it's dangerous. I'm realizing that with my knee, and my health, that I got to work smarter, and I'm trying to work faster. But the water question, the heat you all brought up is interesting, and I kind of diverse to that. But I have a theory about Florida swamp ape because I am out there. I do know how thick it is. I hear people all the time, there can't be anything in Florida, not in a corridor. You're crazy, Matt. Well, anybody's welcome to come down. Anybody is welcome to come down. I'll take you out, and I will make a believer out of you really quick. I think water plays a key role, and I think a lot of times they're in water, meaning they're submerged in water, laying on their backs, laying on their stomach. I mean, that's if they're out there. I don't even know if they're out there. But I've been out there. I felt the heat. If these things are covered with hair, they got to be in the water. And if you think about it, have you ever laid in a bathtub and put your ears underwater and just listen to your household around you?
Yeah.
It's like the old putting your ear when you watch the old, Zorro and Tonto and all that, where they used to put their ear to the train track and feel the vibration of the train.
Right.
Because when you're standing up, that thing can hit you and you won't even know it was coming.
Right.
But you put your ear to the ground, it's a different story. If you submerge your ears in water, it's a totally different story. And when you realize that could be a game changer, you're never, people are going, you and Brian are too loud. You're too loud. You're in the woods talking. Dude, you're not going to, if this thing is there, you're not going to sneak up on this thing. But to counter that, we go out in wind and rain. We're not afraid to go out in 35, 40 mile an hour wind, knowing that, hey, scent's gone one direction, you got a fighting chance on 3 other directions. And the one day we did that 2 months ago, we were almost gored by like a 6-8 point buck charging us down a game trail because we were way off trail. And we didn't see it. It didn't see us until we were face to face. It lowered its head and came right at us. Missed us by like 10 feet. And I did catch that on camera on the back end of it going by because I switched my GoPro from a chest mount. Bad practice. If any of you are wearing a GoPro on your chest, get rid of it. Not the way to do it. My opinion. Everything I say tonight is my opinion. But as soon as I moved it to my helmet and put my GoPro on my helmet and stabilized it with a stabilizer lens, a mod lens that they make for the GoPro 9, 10, and 11, game changer. And guess what? It got off my chest. You don't hear the one I just released, the chapter I just released is all breathing. But once I moved my GoPro to my helmet, it fixed the breathing problem. And then I also moved my recorder to my helmet and faced it backwards. So I'm running an H1N1 back there. So like Mike, and taking cues from Mike, I'm constantly evolving how I work and use the gear. And I switch off a lot, but I'm coming up with, a series of best practices that I'm trying to pass on to new people coming up. But, you don't go scuba diving without taking a scuba class and learn about decompression and depth and decompression sickness and stuff. Well, why in the hell would you go looking for a Sasquatch and not take a film class? I don't get it. So that is my pet peeve that, I want to go out and start a Bigfoot channel and go look for Bigfoot, and they're running around with a GoPro and an iPhone. Well, that's fine. I'm not saying you're not going to get it. In Florida, what do you use in Florida when you hunt? You use a shotgun or do you use a 30-06? It's a different ball game in Florida. So GoPro is not bad in Florida, but you have to be able to think of some other things. And I'm thinking of those other things. Like when I hit a prairie, my eyes are at 100 yards and my camera's at 100 yards. But my camera at 100 yards is like your camera from 20, 30 yards. It's a different ball game.
Right. You know, Matt, this begs the question, and, Sean and myself and a few others have had this conversation in the past. Older technology, and we're talking 40-year ago technology, it seems to have had more prevalence in being able to capture things, such as a cassette recorder regarding the Sierra sounds, regarding the PG film on a hand wound, not battery operated piece of equipment. I'm wondering what your opinion is okay, well, there you go, right? I'm wondering if you find greater success with older technology in order to capture something instead of something that's giving off frequency, even such as a trail cam that may have infrared and just makes it peculiar to creatures. I understand there are some creatures with a smaller brain capacity that may not understand or think of it as a threat, but a creature with a larger brain capacity may see it as a threat and stay away from that area. I'm wondering what your take is on that.
Well, this is where I go into my I mentioned on my trail cam that I bought a reveal black light trail cam, and that's what I'm catching all these shots with. And I remember pulling that out, and someone goes, "Oh, Matt, man, you went with a trail cam. Everybody knows that Bigfoot can see infrared." I don't listen to any of that stuff. That's where people get tripped up and get themselves in trouble until I prove that or see that myself. But I tell you, my reveal trail cam, the 169, that satellite sends me the images. I can download high res, low res, both videos and still. I have yet to have any of those bobcats, raccoons. I got a coyote. I know their feeding pattern. I know their hunting pattern after 12 weeks. I pretty much know what they're doing. Not one time did they look at the camera.
All right.
Okay, so I haven't run into that. So I can't say that's true at all, nor do I go by those rules. I go by my rule of experience and what I have experienced. And so I'm not disrespecting anybody that's out there, but
no.
like Life is a Pathway, he's really good with trail cam. I go to him for my trail cam knowledge if I need something like that. But I'm not going to not use a piece of equipment or switch to analog equipment just because everybody says my phone goes off, this or that, the batteries die.
Right.
I've had stuff like that happen. My phone went off in the last chapter I produced. It finally went off and started playing some. Never had that happen to me. But if you look at the video I released, I never once said it was Bigfoot. I didn't even react to it like it was Bigfoot, and neither did Brian. I'm still in the flesh and blood camp until I think otherwise. But then I'm also someone who has seen a ghost with two other people, and we all saw the same thing. So it's not like I'm not open to it, but I'm not ready to go portal and, No,
I was just kind of looking more for your unbiased opinion as far as equipment goes, and the possibility that you have a larger skull, a larger brain capacity that may be able to, I'm just throwing it out there, that may be able to understand peculiarity a little bit better than white-tailed deer or raccoons that might be in the area. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking this out. I'm gonna probably wrap up this year taking the 16 millimeter out a lot. But it's more on the benefits of having the documentary and having it out there. But I tell you, analog equipment is loud.
Yeah,
DSLR shutters are loud.
Right.
This 16 millimeter camera, I don't know if you all heard this thing run. It's probably some of the issues I have, but with the PG film, but
that click, that running click.
Yeah, it's not. Plus, it's heavy, and so I don't have any problems with. And I was gonna do a test, and I was gonna use my channel as a tech channel, and say this is a film DSLR next to my digital Lumix, next to a GoPro, and shoot frame by frame by frame and do all this stuff. But I don't need to do that. My pop into Bigfoot world for the next year I'm going to be here. That'd be my 3rd year. I kind of made a goal of myself. I'm going to be like an investigative reporter, photojournalist, pop in for 3 years, and then kind of, not produce film for consumer consumption. Like, this is me going out in the woods. Look at me. I want to just go private with it. I'll have my group of friends. I will share footage. I will always have 2 cameras running. And that's another thing. I run 2 cameras all the time. If I'm running a GoPro, I'm running an iPhone. If I'm running a GoPro, I'm also running my Lumix on, stabilized on a gimbal. So, and I start that as soon as I walk away from the truck. So there's not going to be in this stuff like my iPhone was in my pocket, a Bigfoot walked across the road. If you're going to do this, how many stories have we heard like that? So best practices, be running all the time.
Right.
You're not shooting film. Film is expensive.
Yeah.
So why not buy three cards and run all the time? My GoPro run 5-6 hours on a disc. I got a pretty good sized disc in this thing, but I'm also using the mod lens on it. I'm using that stabilized lens on it.
Stabilized lens.
Yeah,
Matt,
so it goes down from 4K to 2.7K. But so am I going to give away the digital advantage just because someone told me that these creatures can sense this stuff? I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet, because to me, all the sightings are road crossings or happenstance crossings. It's not like they're crossings with us, the 6 of us going out looking for Bigfoot. You're not seeing anybody doing anything like that.
Very true.
So the best way is just be prepared. Have a dash cam. If you're on an e-bike, put front and back facing cameras on it when you're just out enjoying the woods, having fun. I think that's how it's going to happen. It's not going to happen with us.
I have to agree. I think you're right. I do.
That's just how I'm at now,
Yeah, I mean, this kind of takes away from it, but I do want to throw this out here with your skills and knowledge. Is I've been taking out a digital SLR with the zoom lens when I go out anymore. Is there, as a photographer, do you want that to be an automatic, or do you want to set the focal length, the ISO, the f-stop to a certain setting to get that shot, that far away shot? What would you suggest for someone that's carrying a digital SLR camera that wants to take photos like that and would have it ready to take a photo if they do see something crossing or something in the distance?
Well, I tell you, I'm on automatic 99% of the time.
Okay.
And the main thing is if I'm not running it, well, I'm pretty much on my Lumix. I have a pretty wicked Lumix camera. If you haven't seen it, it's on one of my earlier videos. But the lens, when extended, I have it right there. I could get up and grab it. But it's a Lumix. It's an FZ2500. So the lens is basically a 28 millimeter to a 460 millimeter.
Wow.
And so, but it's also, I can put the lens, if I'm holding up this flash drive, I can literally take the lens and touch it, and it's focused with the lens hood on, which is about that far. It's focused.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So tell me, in Bigfoot world, what else do you need than a camera that shoots from 3 inches focus to get hair samples, fingerprint samples, whatever, and be able, while live on auto, have the camera literally touching the lens, pull away, and if something darted 30 yards ahead of me, the focus is instantaneous. You cannot run an analog camera that fast.
Correct.
And the other thing about the Lumix is the FZ2500, when the lens extends, when you turn it on, the lens extends. And when it extends, it stays there. It doesn't grow or shorten. It stays at a fixed focal length. The elements inside is what's moving.
Okay.
And so what's happened when you put that on a gimbal, and like if you were to have a Nikon or a Canon with a 105 on a gimbal and take it off and want to do some wide angle video, you got to sit down and rebalance everything. And you're not going to find a level place in the woods to balance. So that's the problem with the gimbal. You get one shot at it on your truck bed before you go out, and God forbid you fall like I did the other day.
Yeah.
walking down a sidewalk. But I would stay on auto. The main thing you need to learn, other than just being on auto and have it running continuous, if I could give any advice, would be know how to put it in manual focus.
Mm-hmm.
How many stories have you heard where, well, that's a Bigfoot, but it focused on the twigs in front of them? Dude,
Yes.
that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse. It's one switch of the thumb, and you grab the front lens element and you focus. And you can lock focus on there and stand there and shoot all day. And you can rock back and forth around the twigs. If you think it's still behind this twig, you can go up and down, and your camera's going to lock focus because you're in manual focus.
Okay.
So I would stay on autofocus most of the time, but know how to use manual. And that's really all you need to do.
That is excellent advice. So
It is.
Yeah.
It is very good, Matt. Great questions, folks. We got to jump into the mid-hour break. I'm Sean, the Fort Chop Forker, Vance Nesbitt, James Baker, Henry May, Matt Arner, and our guest tonight, Matt from Central Florida Bigfoot. Folks, stick around. We'll be right back right after this.
News team, assemble!
Warning of sorts for campers in Taos County. The Sheriff's Office is sharing safety tips on social media to protect yourself from, Bigfoot. The warning says they are coming out of the high country to feed near the Kern River. They recommend not running from or chasing Bigfoot, maybe because it doesn't exist. But they do suggest you take pictures if you see one.
Ah, yes, another news anchor who knows nothing about everything, blowing opinions out his soup cooler. Welcome, Monday night, to the Sasquatch Experience Bigfoot Bullhorn. I hope you're all having a good Monday night. Let's jump right into it as to what this story has to do with the correlation of Bigfoot. Out of Nebraska, a goat was captured after weeks, underlining weeks, on the loose. Back on July 13th, an escaped goat that eluded capture for several weeks in Nebraska was finally captured by animal control officers. Lincoln, Nebraska Animal Control said in a Facebook post that its goat interdiction task force, they have a task force to capture goat, was mobilized when the goat was spotted near Leach Camper Sales in Lincoln, Nebraska. The goat had been spotted on multiple occasions during the past few weeks, and at one point led authorities on a chase through the University of Nebraska's Lincoln's East campus. The post said that the goat was finally captured thanks to the help of a fence and the awesome employees at Leach Camper Sales. I suppose the task force was nowhere to be found, but the goat was taken to the Humane Society. Now, you suppose if this goat was 6 to 10 feet tall and walked on two legs that a fence would have stopped it? The brain of a goat, and it remained elusive. Correlation. And a tropical bird spotted for the very first time in Pennsylvania. Also on July 13th, a tropical bird found in Pennsylvania wildlife area is believed to be the first of its species ever spotted in the state, according to wildlife experts. The bird discovered at Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area was identified as a limpkin, a tropical species not commonly found north of Florida. Bird watchers have been flocking to the area, see what they did there, to catch a glimpse of the rare visitor. It's when these things happen that we don't expect to see or are rare or new and they show up. Makes it really cool and refreshing, and it's a new burst into the hobby, according to Ted Nichols, president of the Lancaster County Bird Club. It's just really good moment for birding. The Pennsylvania Game Commission said in a Facebook post that the visit marks the first time on record that a limpkin had been spotted in Pennsylvania. When we come back after this brief break, we have a couple of announcements to make, so stick around.
You're listening to the Sasquatch Experience.
Got knockers? No, I have knickers. Well, get your knockers at Got Knockers, a Bigfoot apparel line dedicated to the creature known to knock on trees in the dead of night. This exclusive design is world renowned and can be discovered by you by visiting Etsy at Got Knockers. Etsy, E-T-S-Y, Got Knockers. Once you purchase a Got Knockers wear, well, feel free to join the group on Facebook, where a cast of thousands meet and chat with some of the biggest names in Sasquatchery. Again, that's Got Knockers on Etsy and Got Knockers on Facebook. Well now, big announcement time on the Bigfoot Bullhorn. Get ready, get a pencil and paper, I'll give you a moment. Okay, time's up. Central PA Bigfoot and Cryptid Festival. This coming August 12th of this year at Memorial Park Avenue in Ellisburg, Pennsylvania. Smile, gentlemen, if you intend on going. Oh, of course, Matt and Sean and Baker will be there, and it's going to be a fun event. Hopefully, they can tie me in visually to that event. But once again, that's the Central PA Bigfoot and Cryptid Festival, August 12th of 2023, Memorial Park Avenue in Ellisburg, Pennsylvania. Also, certainly last but not least, Jefferson County Bigfoot and Paranormal Expo 2023 is going to be on Saturday, August 26th of this year, and it runs from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Renlow Park, Reynoldsville, Pennsylvania. Thanks again for listening to this edition of the Bigfoot Bullhorn exclusively on the Sasquatch Experience. And until next time, keep your toes in the mud. And now back to Three Men and a Baby.
Something's wrong with you when you do these. You have too much time on your hands. Thanks, Vance, for that lovely segment. We appreciate the news each and every other week here on the Sasquatch Experience. Bigfoot Bullhorn, Vance Nesbitt right there, the Bigfoot Bullhorny dude, as you can see by the title
right
under his name. And folks, if you're just joining us for the first time, thanks for coming in. As you can tell, we like to have a little bit of humor, but a lot of information. So we're going to get right back into this. Matt, go ahead. You had another question for Matt right before we went to break.
I do. Matt, I spend a lot of time out in the field. Just this past weekend, I had something kind of interesting happen. I'm still trying to go through it, but can you tell us about some of the experiences you've had in Florida? The experiences that really stuck out to you.
Yeah, I made a little note of that. Here, let me grab this. I can't see it. I do Post-its. Everybody who knows me.
I love this. I love that.
Like I said, I'm a behind the camera guy, not out front. But I did like 6 or 7 little bullet points of things that were interesting. No sighting yet. The first thing I was exposed to was wood knock or tapping. And that happened when I was riding a bike before my e-bike days and before my knee was killing me. But I was pedaling a fat tire bike down a trail I did not know it was not for bikes. I didn't know that. I didn't read the sign all the way. And I went down the end and I dropped an earbud on the way and I stopped and get off the bike and all of a sudden it was like tap. And I went, oh, that was a wood knot. But it wasn't like everyone does, where they take a big stick and they just go, wow. This was like a get your attention, it was just literally just a in the woods that you could clearly hear. And I looked and I was just looking for my earbud. And then all of a sudden it was kind of like, I looked up. I went, by 2 years in the field, I know what a woodpecker is, and I went, I don't know, maybe, how they do pause, and and then next thing I know, it's like, and it's over here, and it's on my channel. I wrote it down. It's and I put it out here because if somebody knows what it is and can debunk it, that's what I'm all about too. Anybody that knows me, I try to figure it out than claim anything. But there's probably 15 wood knocks, and everybody goes 15 is definitely a woodpecker. I don't know, but it's episode 48 on my Central Florida Bigfoot channel, and it's about a minute and a half long, but I think it's 15 knocks. That was kind of weird, and I started getting excited. Like, those are the wood knocks everybody's talking about. But they were more like over here, over here, tap tap over here, and then all of a sudden 4 rattled off over here, and it was a strange thing. It got me a little nervous. I was in my solo days, and I was solo in this until something happened. Another thing that happened, I'll get to that. Another thing that happened is I was out. I've gone out with a lot of people, and I've been blessed with. And I did this in my career too. I had 5 jobs in 5 years, and I don't know if you all know what that means. It's like you learn at an incredible fast rate, and then you're bored and you change jobs, or a better opportunity comes. And in 5 years, I had the experience of a 10-year ad agency marketing photographer guy. Real quick. And then, and I was with these little companies, and they beat you up. And then I finally went with the newspaper, and there's an audio visual position opened at a newspaper, making 12 projector slideshows. You were the photographer, you were the producer, you were the programmer. You had to build the show, you had to stage the show and set it up and run it for the salespeople. So I kind of went to a small group to do that. But this is what happened. So it's just working in groups, and then I changed quickly, and I followed that model of my business model with Bigfootery. It's like I went out with people, and as soon as I saw something like, it's not the direction I want to go. Love you guys. I'm going a different direction right now. I haven't really broken ties really badly with anybody, but I've left some people that I didn't like what they were doing or how they were going about it. But there's one time we were in a group, and there's about 7 of us out, and I picked up a stick that I found on the ground. It was a Y branch. It was about this big, and it was literally the letter Y, and I picked it up, and I said, wouldn't this be cool if we found this in a tree? And I jammed it in a tree in front of me like that. Everybody laughed. The other guys were coming up behind me. I said, no, I don't want to do that. They'll think, I don't want to do that. So I took it down. I threw it on the ground. 20 minutes later, I'm walking up behind everybody, and they go, Matt, they go, remember what you said back there? And I said, yeah. What are you talking about? And they go, look up. And I looked up, and there was a big bend coming up. And we were off trail, so it wasn't really a trail. It was just an open space in the woods. But there's this big 1-inch diameter branch that was bent over the trail, and this 4-foot Y branch came down and impaled itself, evidently, on it. And it was probably 4 foot tall, balancing on this tree in plain view for all of us to see. And we all just sat there and looked at it like, do you think? It's kind of like the group where, group thing goes on, and we're all going, do you think they heard you and put that branch of the tree, this exact same branch, but bigger than you picked up, and it's stuck in a tree like this? And it was just really weird. That kind of happened. Then after the tree knock bit, I was on the same trail about a month later, and it had rained, and it was August 23rd, 2020. Last time I went out by myself. And if you were on a ski slope, it would be the bunny trail, closest to the shelter, closest to the parking lot. I could run back in probably 10 minutes. I'm out there, and I'm into the education thing at this point. And I said, hey guys, I got my gimbal around my shoulder. I started to say, I got my gimbal around my shoulder today. I got the iPhone on a gimbal. I'm trying something new. And as soon as I started to say that sentence, I didn't know where I was. I literally didn't know where I was. The water had overflowed the river. I was in ankle deep water. I looked around and I went, I was on a trail that just goes up here and loops around like, the size of 10 cars, loops around and comes back to the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of the river where no one goes. It was on the other side of this creek, but still very close to a parking lot. Dude, I'm not expecting to see anything. So I didn't know where I was. And then this was in my first year. So it was episode 15. I call it Tree Falls. I put up a title, Have I Been Zapped? Embarrassingly, to this day, I want to take it down, but I'm leaving it up there because it shows my growth.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, was I zapped? I'm like walking, and then I put the definition of zapped, and then all of a sudden an owl goes off. This is all 2:00 in the afternoon. I get lost on a bunny trail. I think I'm zapped. Not anymore. I don't know what happened. An owl goes off. A second owl goes off. A third owl goes off, and they're ping-ponging.
Mm-hmm.
Two sound like an owl, but the third one across the creek, the real river, I was on a creek, but the one across the river did not sound like an owl to me. And I made a joke, well, you know what they say about owls, and I show what they say about the natives about the owl. And then I always do something in when I'm out in the woods. I call them, you hear about people tell you about bluff charges and stuff like that. So I do this little thing I call random change of direction, and I try not to think about it because they could be reading your mind. So see, I had all this bad Bigfoot information stuck in my brain. And so whenever I think about it, no matter where I'm at, I will change directions and walk 90 degrees left or right. Or sometimes turn around and just walk right back. It's just a random change of direction. Thinking, I used to hunt with my brother, and we squirrel hunted. And we used to always walk down a trail, and then bam, 2 hunters sitting still on the tree stand, shoots a deer out behind us. We never knew it was coming. It happened year after year after year. We had deer shot out as we walked down a trail. They would come out behind us. So I did this bluff charge, and I just walked. It entered my mind. I went, I'm going to go over here. And I start walking into the swamp. Tree falls on camera at 0 degrees. When I'm using my iPhone, it falls right at the camera. You can see it come through the trees. You can see it splash. And I'm going, what do I do now? And I'm thinking to myself, what do I do now? And so I just did my camera up and ended it. Kind of dramatic, overly dramatic. And I did that probably on purpose. And I was scared, and I got the hell out of there. And I started bugging up this trail pretty fast. And then I went, wait, what am I doing? Let's go back. So I turned around and forced myself to go back, and I realized I had a trail cam hanging over my shoulder. So I went out there and placed the trail cam. Very nervously, I was fiddling. I almost dropped it. Anyway, the next day I got nothing because I don't even think I turned it on. I was that nervous and scared. So then I go back up the trail, and I stop, and I go into it. I start working my Lumix. I set the iPhone down. I start doing these long zooms. Well, it looks like I see a nest. And as I'm walking out there, I see a footprint, a fresh footprint in the swamp. And I show it. I shoot it. I went, is that a footprint? And I didn't know much about them at that point because I'd never expected to see one. And I overlooked it, just walked right over it and started going to this nest I saw out there. I couldn't get to it. It was like knee-deep water. And so I'm shooting the nest, and then I turn around and go back, and I keep thinking it looks constructed, but it was about 80 yards away. So I have that on my channel. I have return to the nest and evaluation of the nest. But basically, what it looks like is this picture if I don't drop it. Anticlimactic here.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's after it had fallen apart. That's 3 months later. It's the size of a Volkswagen. But what I shot in the nest Anybody see anything?
It's hard with my
Matt,
computer, so I can't.
Yeah.
that's one of the things I appreciate in the video is you do those
Yeah.
moments
Yeah.
in the actual film or the
So
film
what
in the
I
actual video.
see, yeah, I do these little enlargement bubbles. And what it is there's a window. There's like a triangle into the nest. And I shot in there when in live you couldn't see anything. But when I got back and posted it, somebody goes, Matt, you need to look at that. I went, there's something sitting there. And I went, no. So I put the video on, cranked the luminosity up, and went, holy crap. It looks like, everybody remember the Aunt Jemima syrup for waffles?
Mm-hmm.
It
miss
looks
Aunt
like
Jemima.
the Aunt Jemima iconic image of Aunt Jemima profile. So what I see is a profile of a face looking this way.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I see eyes, I see nose, I see cheek, I see ear, I see black hair, and where the twig's coming down vertically is right behind that is the ear.
Mm-hmm.
I see a profile of a face, clear. The problem is it never moved, and I'm shooting video. That's a still frame off of video. By the way, that's 80 yards.
Okay.
Okay. Where's the last time you saw a sharp picture at 80 yards of
right.
anyone trying
No
to show
kidding.
you anything?
No
Okay,
kidding.
that's my point. So I don't know what it is. I did a follow-up video. I did part 2, Return to the Nest, the part 3, Return to the Nest. I did a breakdown. I zoom in on it and I show it and I slow-mo it and I say, no movement, no evidence, move on, kind of like thing.
Sure.
Because you got to have movement. I'm all about movement. And that's another thing. If anybody's out Bigfooting and they're shooting still photography, you're wasting all of our time. Go out, have a great time, but don't put it on YouTube. Don't put it on Facebook. A still image in Bigfoot world at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Doesn't do us any good. It's got to be movement. 15, 30 seconds is and that's what I'm after. That's me, the gunslinger. I want movement. I want to end the mystery. I love mysteries. Big, Scooby-Doo fan, Hardy Boys, Tom Sawyer and the Black Cave, the whole bit. Mystery by Moonlight, loved all that stuff. I want to put the mystery to bed, and that's what I'm trying to do. So that's some of the stuff. And the biggest change for me was in chapter 5 of the new series I'm doing, where I basically said, okay, enough with the Bigfoot on the brain. Let me do a real film, and let me start over and kind of launch the Corridor series. 1 through wherever I'm at. Video 12 now. It should be out in the next day or 2. And let me take a fresh look at this. In chapter 5, I go out with Joey, and we're off the Florida Trail, and we go off trail and find the river. I knew the river was to the left. We're on the Florida Trail. I'm probably about 200 yards off the Florida Trail toward the river. And we got there by finding, those little feeder when the swamp goes up and then it drains out, and you got these little creeks that flow back to the river. We're walking down one of those all the way. I knew it had to run into the river. And we get down there, and I find the 17-inch by 8-inch print that I do a 3D scan on. And I was in the process 6 months ago or whatever, vetting it, did vet it. Before I found the print, we had a howl, 3 howls. I vetted that to the Olympic Project guys. And after that, I just kind of, I'm thinking that vetting. Okay, let's talk about vetting. What is it? Who do you vet to? What does it really prove if they say, yes, it was a Bigfoot in this picture, or yes, the howl was a Bigfoot, or yeah, your footprint looks interesting. But I tell you, it got real for me. It got real for me in chapter 5 when I found the 17-inch footprint, because you can hear me. I'm like going, what else could it be? And I'm measuring it, and I go, Joey, this is 17 inches. And then I run the tape over, right behind the big toe across the wide part of the foot. And I go, that's 8 inches. That's 17 by 8 inches. What else could it be? And if you ever followed one of those little runoffs down, it's all debris. And yeah, I'm looking for other impressions. No, did I see impressions? Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was a foot, but this one to me is a foot. I mean, I see toes in it. I did a 3D scan. I flip it up. You can hold it in your hand. You can move it on your
Right.
phone. You can zoom in. You can zoom out. It's cool as crap stuff. And this is stuff I learned. This is stuff I learned from Mike. You know, Mike will throw something out, and I just kind of throw it into play sometimes before he does. And they're going, no, that Matt, he's a genius. It's like, no, I'm listening. You know, I'm around good people. You know, I got good people that know how to investigate, that will show you a trick or two. And, you know, from the Merlin Bird app to the 3D scanners, I made a little, you know, note here. I'm doing negative viewing now of my evidence. I'm flipping the color video into negative.
Right.
And I tell you guys, it's a game changer if you think something's moving. Because when you're in Florida, you can't. I heard you all talk on episode 1 of the Swamp series. You know, you're talking about 50 yards. No, you can't see 30 feet sometimes. Most of the time where we're at, you can't see 30 feet. But when you flip my footage into negative view, and you have the trees and you have the palms, and it looks like this, and then they're all green, and then behind the green is browns and other colors. There's something moved in there, and any color range, you're not going to see it, especially if it's creeping slow. But in negative view, if it moves like this and breaks that highlight behind them, like if I'm in negative view, so if a Sasquatch is black, it's going to be white. And so the foliage is here green, the Sasquatch is going to be white. The Sasquatch here is going to be white. But I tell you what, the trees and stuff in the background are black. And all of a sudden, if you move like that and break that line, it's like having not one shooting alley. It's like having 60 shooting alleys. And it's awesome because if something moves left to right on film, you're going to get it. You're going to know what's moving. Now, you may not have the detail, but you'll know, hey, I'm in the right place. There is something big out here. It is bipedal. And it moved left to right at this location, and I can pinpoint it. So that's where I'm at now, is using stuff like that. I found a teepee. I can't explain the teepee. That's in an episode, I think 6 or 7. It's called the teepee. It's 25 foot tall to the apex, 30 feet on the ground from the 4 trees that are involved. 3 of the trees are alive. 1's dead. And then as it meets about 25 feet, it goes another 30 feet past that. So I don't know what that is. When Max and I found it, we started saying, what is this? And we were so tired at the end of the day, we went 15,000 steps that day. We did get a little turned around. Another day we almost died in the heat. And we were too exhausted to explore it. So I took a group back. I took 6 people back with me. And it's called Return to the Teepee. And I did that to vet it. Guys, what do you think? And they're in different groups. They're in different Bigfoot groups. I do have people. It's nice to have people in Florida that you can trust, that don't have Bigfoot on the brain, that can look and view evidence logically. We all looked at it and they all agreed it's an anomaly. We don't know why it would be out here. And there's nothing in 50, 60, 70 yards around it that's crossing and down like that. And so I can't explain that. It's an anomaly. But I started looking at it and I went, what, guys, 20 years ago? 3 trees are living out of the 4s. 20 years ago, the old pushing a tree. If this was in water and soft, could something strong push a tree and lock them? They're not dead. They're going to continue to grow. And is what we're seeing the 20, 30 feet past it, still the apex, still the, and that's what it looks like. And that thing is bizarre, is it's crazy. Well, you can see it on my channel. It's called the Teepee. I can't explain stuff like that. So that's where I'm at. And what I'm going to do is continue to do the corridor series. I don't go out alone anymore after the tree falling incident and the thing in the nest, because I realized I'm probably not alone out there. It may not be Bigfoot, but something was. And as I was backing out, there were knocks on that video too. The same exact knocks I had weeks prior on the same trail. And my knocks that I heard are nothing like I hear any of the Bigfoot channels making. So if you guys could listen to that and give me your thoughts, man, I would, hey, let me put this one to bed and move on. But that one was the same with all these others, where I'm starting to see stuff. So it's confusing. I'm going to finish my corridor series and say, hey, in my 3 years poking my head into Bigfoot world, this is what I learned. This is what I found out. I found some interesting stuff. This is it that I can't explain. Go here if you want to look at this evidence and figure it out yourself. I'll leave my channel up, and then I'm going to be private. I'm just going to go around, and if I get to know you guys, it's going to be I'm sharing with you guys. I'm sharing with the same guys I took them to the TP, and try to move it forward. I want proof to myself that Sasquatch or Bigfoot or skunk ape exists, because my family thinks I'm absolutely certified at this point.
Yeah.
The place I work at a TV station. You all don't know what harassment and hazing is until you say, hey, I'm a Bigfoot guy and I work at a TV station. So I get it from all directions, but I'm getting it because there's so many people out there just blowing smoke up everybody's butt that it makes, I don't like being made looking like a fool when I'm trying to be somewhat serious. And that's why I kind of get passionate about people just posting stuff like, Bigfoot hand found, or I was attacked by a Bigfoot, or a Bigfoot tripped me, and all this stuff. We just don't know. And the whole DNA evidence that Mike had on his channel with Orcut, to me, that's a put up or shut up moment. I'm glad North Carolina State's doing that survey. It's like, man, how many people have you said, oh, I got hair samples, I got this or that? I'm reaching out to everybody I know. Not that I think they're crazy or they're trying to BS me, but they may have something. Right. Turn it in. Let's figure this stuff out.
Yeah, that's a good appeal. It really is. If folks do have something, there's a place taking it. Like you said, there's no excuse anymore to not turn it in.
How many people said, "Oh, I can't afford $5,000"? I can't.
Everybody does it, and I think that's the frustrating part. And I guess watching your videos the last couple of days, which I've been doing to prepare for this, I really do enjoy the corridor series so far. I like what you do, Matt. I really do. Same with Mike. Mike has just shown me a few things that have really made a difference in my own research. And of course, Matt Arner, some really good folks in the field now that are doing some great things. But like you said, that I really appreciate is it's time to put up or shut up, and it's time to get serious. And I appreciate the fact you gave yourself a time frame to do that as well. I think goals are important. I think sometimes when you've been in this field as long as some of us have, it's easy to just kind of go with the status quo and just accept things as they are. But, like I said at the top of the show, we are on borrowed time, and we really need to get serious and engaged.
I don't know. I think your Wi-Fi is interfering with mine.
I think Henry's having interference with Wi-Fi. It's
Yes.
And he doesn't realize he's not on mute. So Vance, anybody final thoughts? Because we're already past the top of we're already past time.
Oh boy,
which
already.
I'm okay with. I'm fine with that.
Sorry,
but
Mike told me I talk a lot.
That's all right. I love it when you talk more, we talk less.
Final thoughts. Thank you, Matt. That was pretty damn informative.
Very informative.
At least I know what to look at as far as videography is concerned, and I just need some time to absorb that. But no, very informative. So thank you very much. And I think, Sean, you wanted to maybe make a quick interjection about the next show up and coming and who's going to appear on that show.
Yeah, I can't spell, and I posted without a spell check, so it's supposed to be abundance, but it's abundance.
Oh, no.
That's okay.
Abundant.
I had a Baker moment. Anyhow, at the end of the month. So
have you ever seen my bun dance?
Yeah, that's important. At the end of the last show, I was going back and looking through the YouTube comments, and Somebody posted something about the Snellgrove Lake, and we have a great opportunity because this person goes out and does a bunch of podcasts. Why we've never had this guy on the show before, and honestly, I've just never had him because I never felt the need to. But now that somebody puts a challenge to us to get somebody on the show, I take it because, like Matt, I put up or shut up. So what we did is Vance reached out to Doug Hyjick, and for the first time on the Sasquatch Experience, Doug's going to join us and talk about the show. Why is that significant? Because Sasquatch Experience was around before Monster Quest. It was around before all of them. And now it's time for us to go back to some old school squatching, talk about some old subjects, and talk about something new, such as Sasquatch Legend Meets Science 2. It's been a long journey. I love meeting new people. Matt, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. My God, you filled us with some information and some inspiration too. And I think that's important. We all need to learn from each other. We need to grow, and we do need to challenge each other a little bit respectfully, which is what you've done.
I appreciate it.
Kudos.
And I do learn from all you guys and everybody else. I really do. I just file it real quick and move on. You know what I mean?
You have to. Right. I mean, speed dating for research. It's okay.
yeah, that's what it is.
That's exactly. That's a perfect description of it.
Yeah, that's great.
Matt, Mr. Arner, JB, any final thoughts?
I was going to say, Matt, it was an incredible discussion with you tonight. Being someone that has a little bit of photography experience, getting the chance to listen to you discuss, what we could do in the field was just a great experience. So I thank you very, very much.
I do like your points about the cameras and some of the trail cams. And I had a question, but we kind of got blocked out for a minute, is I think the big thing isn't as much that the trail cams give off all these things. I think the fact that we don't see as much what the trail cams are is people think if they put it up on Monday, by Monday night, they're going to have Sasquatch pictures. Yeah. And every videos I've watched, all these other things, and you can ask Sean, when we first put the cameras up on my land, honestly, we got a little bit of interest because we were around that area and the local animals wanted to know what are they doing near my tree. But once the couple weeks went by, we saw patterns. They're laying out there on the ground. You see them over there doing what they naturally do because they forget that camera exists. Now, the first couple days, like I said, they were kind of more interested. Not that I put an object there, but why is he over there? And a perfect example was yesterday I was down at the land, and a deer is just sitting there eating its little oats or whatever grass it's eating while I'm over there using the hammer and fixing my shed. He could give a crap I'm there.
Right.
Like, to me, I'm non-threatening to him. And I think what people seem to think is if they go into a new area, that they're going to walk in, make some tree knocks, put up a camera, and by the end of the day, they're going to have all this evidence. No. If a local animal notices you're intruding, it backs off 20 feet and waits to see what you do. And then, eventually, the deer in that area don't see me as a threat. Now, they're not going to let me touch them. I'm not cohabitating. They're not, borrowing food from me and bringing me presents. We're not going that far with them yet. Okay. But the fact is, those deer could care I exist when I'm just doing normal things.
Sure.
And I think that's what a lot of the researchers need to realize is you put a game cam up, I don't care how significant it is, what kind of whatever. Same with drones. If that drone's out in the air, it's something it's a bird they don't see all the time, all the animals are going to duck and cover. Because they're like, I don't know what that thing is, but it's making a weird noise and I'm going to run.
Yeah. Good point.
But if that thing's out there every day, they'll be, oh, okay. It's like living near the airport. Okay, the plane went by.
Sure. Folks, you've been listening to the Sasquatch Experience. Sean Forker, Vance Nesbitt, James Baker, Matt Arner, Matt Larson. Matt, where can folks find out more about you?
Central Florida Bigfoot. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Instagram's more my up-to-date, e-bikes out, I'm out today sort of thing. And then Facebook is where I kind of archive everything for the future generations to explore.
Fantastic. Folks, SasquatchExperience.com. Find us. You can link all to our social medias from all that. Vance, James, Matt, myself. Henry, give us those final words, my friend.
Y'all be good. Be good at it.
Doesn't get any better than that. See you next time, folks. Have a good